Honestly, rating in WoW altogether needs a huge rework. Like the whole rating system in WoW it doesn't make any sense, bro. It's like extremely outdated. You know what? Let's actually pause this too. This is why rating in World of Warcraft is a huge problem, okay? Because basically this is what happens. And WoW you have this thing called CR. CR equals current rating, okay? This is what everyone bases their skill off of, okay? Skill, okay? Now here's the problem with CR. CR varies every season based off of outside factors, okay? Inflation. So basically inflation is like player activity, right? If there's a lot of people playing, then there's going to be a lot of inflation. And then there's also artificial inflation. So there's an inflation which is based off player activity, and then there's artificial inflation. Sometimes Blizzard adds inflation into the game so people can increase in rating when CR or when activity is low, okay? So this doesn't happen always. Very inconsistent. Sometimes they do this, sometimes they don't do this, okay? This is why CR is so weird. Alright, so now we know all this tech, okay? So we have CR equals skill, and the problem is that CR changes, okay? So in one season, let's say for example, Season 2 Shadowlands, tons of player activity, artificial inflation, okay? Lots of it actually, lots of artificial inflation, okay? So people reached new all-time high CRs. On EU, Waz got 3,800. Waz's team, Waz, Raikou, and Meh, 3,800 CR. I think on NA, the highest team was like 3,600 CR. This, without artificial inflation and player activity, this is impossible to ever happen again. When people show these experiences now, these numbers seem absurd. But then if you go to like a different season, right? Let's go to season... Let's just go season 3, the season that just happened. Season 3 DF. The highest team for NA, I think highest NA player, I don't remember for sure, it was like 3,100. Roughly 3,100 CR, okay? Does this mean that the best player NA was way worse than these players in Shadowlands Season 2? No, it doesn't mean anything at all. Because this is just the highest of the CR pool that was juiced around. Because Season 3 equals, ready? 0 artificial inflation and low player activity. So this is why it's so fried, right? Because now here's the thing. Take this. You get the highest player here, and you get the highest player here in these two different seasons, and you have completely different numbers right here. This is why it's confusing, okay? Because you know what happens when you have this system is that it trickles down and it affects the lower people, okay? So if the highest player was 36 and the highest player this season was 3,100, what happens down at the lower ratings? Well, that means that you have Jimmy over here who got his first ever 2K. Jimmy got his first 2K in Shadowlands Season 2, and he thinks that he's improving. But then Jimmy is now 1,600. And now Jimmy thinks that he got worse at WoW, when in reality, he's playing at the same percentile that he was in this season. Like, this is why the MMR system makes no sense. It's completely inconsistent. It doesn't make any sense at all. The numbers, the CR numbers, are completely arbitrary. Nothing matters. Which is why Blizzard needs to do this. They need to take their whole system, okay? And they need to rework everything, okay? Delete all. This is what they need to do. A rank 1 player, if you guys don't know this, rank 1 equals top 0.1% on the ladder at end of season. Okay? If you guys didn't know this, back in the day in WoW, every single rating used to work like this. So this is what it is currently. Rank 1, Elite equals 2,400, Duelist equals 2,100 CR, Rival 1,800 CR, Challenger equals 1,600 CR, and then Combatant equals 1,400 CR. Okay, so listen. Can anyone in chat identify the problem right now? Okay, I'll show you. Percentile based, okay, which means that the reward is based off being within a percentile, and all of these are static ratings. Okay? Now, the reason why this is a problem is because static ratings are bad. Static ratings don't account for the factors we talked about earlier, the artificial inflation and the player activity. But the percentile-based rewards do. So if you actually look at these old achievements I have here on my account, stop doing the fart noises, stop that. If you look at these old achievements I have here, if I go to like feats of strength or something, I have these right here from a long time ago, okay? Rival used to be the top 10%. Duelist used to be the top 3%. Challenger used to be the top 35%. So the reason why they changed this, I'm assuming the reason why they got rid of the percentile-based achievements for everything is so you could get the rewards during the season, which is like a cool idea because you're like, oh, well, if you have the system like this where everything's a static rating, you could just get the achievements during the season. So you can now get a gladiator mount during the season. You can get duelists. The percentile pros are like extremely fair, consistent, makes sense. Okay, that's like the pros. The cons are can't get rewards mid-season. Okay? Because you have to wait till end of season for the percentile, right? Here's the solution. Here is the solution, okay? Update percentile cutoffs throughout the season. Okay? It could be bi-weekly. It could be weekly. It could be any amount of time where basically what they do is they snapshot the ladder and they go, okay, for this week, it looks like the cutoff for Elite is whatever the top 1% is, or top 3%, or whatever the math is, right? So top 1%. So maybe in the first week of the season, top 1% is 2K. There you go. So you could get Gladiator from being 2K if it's the first week of the season. And then what that would also do is that would also cut these all down, right? Like Duelist would be lower, Rival would be lower. Now, I could see this system being a little bit weird at the start of a season, but if you consistently just update the percentile cutoffs, you get rid of this weird arbitrary system. Now, what they actually probably need to do overall is probably rework everything entirely because the CR numbers are still going to be weird. But if they do the system like this, these titles will start to make more sense at least. Like the concept of someone being a gladiator or an elite player will have a consistent meaning. Instead of right now, if you get elite at the end of a season, it's completely meaningless compared to if you get it at the start of the season. How many people right now are 2,400 in 3v3? Okay, so there is 24 players, okay? There is 24 players that are above 2,400. But here's the kicker, okay? At the end of the season, there is probably going to be around 2,000 to 3,000 players that are 2,400. So if you get 2,400 right now, you're one of the top 24 players on the entire North American ladder compared to at the end of the season, you are one of several thousand, which is why it just doesn't make sense, right? I feel like that kind of breaks it down, though. I think this is a good solution that brings a lot more consistency. But in reality, I think it needs a whole overhaul, and it needs something even bigger than this, to be honest. But yeah, that's basically what's wrong with the rating in WoW right now. The whole rating system doesn't make sense. People that are new to the game are always confused about if they're getting better or worse. They base their skill off of CR, and CR doesn't make sense. Does that make sense, though, Martian? All right. Sorry.